to welcome you to our weekly Questions to Ponder from the Word of God. And today I want to talk to you about a question that changed the life of a terrorist. It transformed a terrorist. My friend, the late Dr. J.L. Williams, wrote a book about 5 or 6 years ago entitled The Transformation of a Terrorist. And it was the story of Saul of Tarsus, who in the first century had all the earmarks of a religious fanatic and terrorist who was terrorizing the early Christians who were followers of Jesus Christ. He was there in Acts chapter 8 and 7 and 8 when the first martyr of Christianity took place. It was Stephen, a deacon, who was martyred for preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it says that Saul, in chapter 8 and verse 1, was there consenting, holding the coats of those who stoned him to death. In chapter 9, we read about the transformation of the terrorist and the questions that went along with it. We read from verses 4 to 6 that he's traveling along. He's on the road to Damascus. He has letters from the religious leaders, the high priest, to arrest followers of the way. In other words, the way of Jesus. On the way, he has some people with him, but there's a light that's brighter than the sunlight, shines in his eyes. He falls to the ground, and so do those with him. But only he hears a voice, and there's a question. Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? And he says, who are you, Lord? The response is, I am Jesus who you're persecuting. Now I want you to notice Jesus and Paul, or Saul, as he was called at this time, we call him the Apostle Paul, are contemporaries. They're about the same age. Apparently they've never met during Jesus' 33 years of earthly ministry. But on the road to Damascus, they have an encounter, and it's the risen Christ, not the earthly Christ, but the risen Christ, who appears to him and challenges him, why are you persecuting me? Jesus identifies with his people, with his followers. If you hurt a follower of Jesus, you've got to contend with him. Why do you persecute me? And then he asked the question, Saul said, who are you, Lord? I'm not sure if he suspected who it might be, but he understands this is not a man his equal. He calls Jesus Lord. After Jesus explains who he is, he asks this question. Now, here's the question that changed his life and could change your life. He said, Lord, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Here's what I want you to focus on today. God has a plan for every man and woman. His plan is that you come to faith in Jesus Christ. That's the plan. But I think that God also has a purpose. Our plan is the same, salvation in Jesus Christ, but the purpose varies. God's purpose for my life is very different than his purpose for your life. I'm not sure what he wants you to do, but Saul asks him, what do you want me to do? He was seeking his purpose. Well, the book of Acts, the first half of it, Peter is the featured apostle. In the second half, it is this man, Saul, who becomes the apostle Paul. And his purpose would be to become a missionary to the Gentile world, who he had hated as a Jewish Pharisee that he was. And he sends him cross-culturally to share the good news about Jesus with the people he would have despised before this conversion experience. What is God's purpose for your life? Do you know he has a purpose? Let me give you a homework assignment. On these days that you have more downtime than you may ever have again, or for many years, a book was written in 2002 by pastor and author Rick Warren called The Purpose-Driven Life. Have you read it? Some of you perhaps have. I encourage you to reread it during these times of global pandemic. If you've never read it, you can buy a used copy from Amazon for probably $5 or $6. They'll have it at your door by morning. But you need to read about the difference life makes when you're purpose-driven, not pleasure-driven, not power-driven, but purpose-driven. Here is a summation of perhaps the greatest truth of that book. Here's God's purpose for your life. Listen now. God's primary purpose for your life is to prepare you for the next life. This life is not the only life. You may live to be 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years old. That's not the end. It's only the end of the beginning. You are an eternal being, and you're going to be around for eternity. Your greatest purpose in this life is to prepare for the next life. Your second greatest purpose, share that opportunity through Jesus Christ with other people. On this question to ponder, I want you to ponder the question of Saul of Tarsus and ask God today, Lord, what do you want me to do? And if you'll listen to the still small voice, he'll speak to your heart and you will know. Find God's purpose for your life and then live it with passion. God bless you on this question to ponder.